Good evening to you all. We'll begin with some quiet meditation. So find a comfortable posture. Close your eyes. Take some deep breaths. Just to center your awareness within your own body. Because the breath is part of this body. So we call it the first foundation of mindfulness. Mindfulness of breathing. And the body and the breath are intertwined, closely linked. Without breath, the body doesn't work. So the breath is the life of the body. And it's the first foundation of mindfulness. And it's something the Buddha encouraged us to return to over and over again in our practice. At any time of day or night, you may be in a state of fear, confusion, worry, anxiety. You may have strong desires besetting you. One thing you can always turn to is the breath. Come back to the body. The breath body, the breath in, the breath out. And many people find that by turning your attention to the breath, it really helps to cut through whatever mood has overtaken you. And the Buddha said in his own practice before he was a Buddha, if he was sitting meditation and he may be focusing his mind on the breath and fear or anxiety overtook his mind, he wouldn't stop his meditation. He wouldn't get up, change posture, until he'd quelled his own fear. His priority was always to establish mindfulness and contemplate whatever mental state was arising until he could see it as impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. And let it go, relinquish it. So he trained himself over and over again in this way, learning how to relinquish different mental states, moods, trains of thought. And because he'd done it once or twice or three times, then he had the confidence to continue practicing, knowing that whatever's bothering your mind, when you begin turning to the breath, it can be let go of. This is something human beings can do through the power of mindfulness, clear comprehension, and an investigation of the Dhamma. So if we learn to pay attention to the breath with patience, with goodwill, whatever train of thought or memory or physical sensation is coming up into our experience, it's possible to know it, but also to let go of the attachment to it as we establish mindfulness on the breath. Sometimes that's all it needs to help us cope with a particular state of mind that's come up. It could be a very strong emotion of fear, anxiety, anger. It could be a very strong desire that's just filling our mind. But if we're determined to put our attention on the breath over and over again, that state of mind starts to subside. And because we've done it before, we can do it again. And we feel better for it. So some people have told me they've woken up in the middle of the night, afraid. Maybe afraid of a perceived threat. So they hear some sound, or they feel a presence of somebody or something. Or sometimes it's just their own thoughts thinking of something fearful. Some concern about the future, what may happen. And they're overcome by fear. And because they've just woken up from sleep, they're a little bit unsettled. So the Buddha encouraged us to establish mindfulness in the body so that we can let that fear go. Just come back to the breathing. Breathe in and you know. Breathe out and you know. And to keep doing it until the mood of fear passes. In the same way you can practice mindfulness of breathing to help deal with different kinds of cravings. Maybe you have craving for something and you feel like you're a slave to that craving. So it could be the desire to eat or to use social media on your phone. The desire to smoke a cigarette. The desire to look at something, find something. There's many different things that we can have desire for. Sometimes we realize that those desires are harming us because they become obsessive. So what do we do? Well, one thing we can do is turn to the breath. Be willing to put our attention on the breath over and over again until that desire starts to quieten down. Many meditators have found success with this through their own efforts over the years, over the centuries. Turning to the breath as a refuge to develop awareness, understanding, and to relinquish some kind of suffering that's coming up in their mind. We can also use it for pain. Physical pain, which is very common, pain in the legs or the back, headaches, stomach aches, injury pain, or the pain of illness. By turning to the breath, the mind is more calm and can tolerate more painful feelings without going into fear or anger. It gives us some self-confidence in our practice if we know that whatever's happening, if nothing else, we can turn to the breath. The aim is to stay with the breath. When your mind wanders away or drifts away, you bring it back. So you're making the breath the center of your attention. And you're really filling your mind with the breath. As you fill your mind with the breath, you also seem to fill your body with the breath. And the breath has a very powerful but good or positive energy. And sometimes you'll even notice the breath energy flowing around the body, down the legs, the arms, the hands, to the chest, up to the head. So many people have found it has a calming effect on the body as well. And different sensations that previously were annoying or distracting subside. Just like mental states of fear, anxiety can subside. Painful feelings can subside. Sometimes even the positive energy from the breath meditation flows to an area of pain all by itself. It's just a natural, good result of meditation. So some people, they begin meditating with a headache. And just by turning attention to the breath, calming their mind and body, the good energy of of the breath flows to the head And gradually the headache disappears all by itself, without them even trying. It's just a natural result of the oxygen in the blood flowing around, maybe going up to the brain a little bit more than before because of the focus on the breathing. And the blood vessels in the brain relax and the headache can subside. Muscle pains, small injuries. Many people have found the breath to have a very healing energy. At the very least, it soothes you when you have some illness or painful feelings.